Welcome, everyone, to the Aging and Spirituality podcast, where we discuss having a more fulfilling life after 60. I'm Kathy Lee Taylor,
And I'm Chris Jensen.
and we are so happy that you are here. As always,
We
we're
sure
going to dive
are.
today into a really interesting, profound spiritual conversation that was recorded many, many years ago between Krishna and Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. These are all Hindu references. So if you're not familiar with that, um, just I'll put notes in the notes here so you can find out what how to spell the Bhagavad Gita and how to look it up and that kind of stuff. So this conversation is going to be about how the Bhagavad Gita helps us navigate life's greatest battles. And there is so much wisdom in this book that there is no way to distill it down. But what we're going to do is pick out a few really interesting pieces of what the battle represented from numerous, actually great people, avatars, people, spiritual people, and what they thought about it. And then Chris and I are going to talk a little bit about how we might be able to apply some of these understandings, this wisdom teaching to what's really going on in the world right now. Because the sacred scripture really isn't. It's not about. It's a battle. It's an epic battlefield, but it's really about the battle inside of ourselves.
The inner,
That is the what's it?
the inner battle that we all go
The
through.
inner battle, the moral dilemmas, the self-doubt, the quest for a purpose, all those things that I don't care who you are, at some point in your life, you're going to struggle with these inner battles. We all have this spiritual place inside of us that is growing at all times. So we're going to talk again, like I said, about how this ancient battleground dialogue speaks to us directly today to our modern struggles. So let me just begin with a little bit of a history of why the battle was fought. The battle was called Kurukshetra, odd spelling Kurukshetra, just so you can get a picture in your mind of that word. It's a big, big word. It was fought over righteousness or dharma and justice and the power between two actual factions of the same royal family. One was the Pandavas and the other was the Kauravas. The Kauravas led by Duryodhana, and I'm winging it with these names, so Chris, you can tell me if I'm not saying them right.
Names, it doesn't
So
matter.
the leader of the one faction, the Kauravas, actually denied the Pandavas their rightful share of the kingdom, humiliating them through deception and public dishonoring. So, despite some attempts at peace, that leader was so arrogant that it made war inevitable, which we can relate to that right now. The battle symbolized really a cosmic struggle that was between virtue and greed. And we see something very similar going on right now. With Krishna was for those who do not know, was a Hindu god and actually considered the eighth incarnation of Vishnu. He was guiding Arjuna with his wisdom, responding to the challenges of what this battle was presenting to Arjuna throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita. So, although the Pandavas actually won the war, it brought immense loss and left behind lessons for everybody on duty and detachment and the eternal fight for righteousness. So many lessons in this battle. You could study it for years and still learn something new. So, next we're going to talk a little bit about the external nature of the soul because this story is really profound. It offers timeless insights because at its core, it's really representing the inner conflict that we're facing. Like we said, that inner self, the struggle between the inner self that's symbolized by Krishna and the conditioned mind or the ego represented by Arjuna. One of the most significant lessons is understanding that inner nature. The battlefield is not just a physical space, but a metaphor for the challenges within our consciousness,
Mhm.
which is the whole framework, the whole basis for growing on a spiritual level, understanding that consciousness and what it means, how the world really works. So It teaches us that our true enemy is not an external force, like the guy on the battlefield that's going to take the physical body, but the shadow that is within us, shadow inside of us, our fears, our doubts, our attachments.
Yes.
Those are the things that are enemies to us being able to live authentic, true lives. So, I feel really emotional about this, which is funny because it's I haven't studied the Gita enough, but when you really dig down into what it means, it's so critical to our journeys. It's so full of so much wisdom. There's a lesson that's particularly relevant, I feel like today, is that where when disruption is prevalent, the Gita encourages us to move beyond the dualities and act from a place of pure consciousness. And this is where we're going to have a conversation because pure consciousness is really about making decisions not out of fear, not out of division, not out of running away from something, but making decisions out of wisdom and compassion. That's pure consciousness. So I wanted to just get here a moment, pause here a moment with Chris and just talk about, what I want to hear what Chris has to say about that place of pure consciousness and how can we use that pure consciousness to really apply it to the challenges that we are experiencing on a daily basis right now, in the US with the conflicts that are going on?
I have two stories I want to tell you. Okay.
She's full of stories. That's what I like about
Yeah.
her.
The first one is I want to talk about a job that I had a few years ago. And everything was going great. And then the person who was the executive director, my boss, something went wrong. And she wanted to blame the people that worked for me.
Mhm.
And
I
she would,
remember.
and I, you know, and for me, I attuned him. It was very clear what the path was. I mean, it was very clear to me that this was wrong, and my job was to stand up for truth.
Yeah.
And so she had this conversation with me. She said, "Why are you protecting these people?" She said, "You're an officer of the organization." And I said, "Yes, that is why I am protecting them, because I am an officer of the organization, and this is truth." And she said to me also, she said, "Your peers," she said, "you have no allies." And I said, "Well, that's okay." I said, and because it was very clear to me, when
Yeah,
I mean, there could have been fear, there could have been anger, there could have been a lot of things that blocked it.
sure.
But fortunately, I used to go straight from that job to teach a class at the yoga center. And I remember when this first came up, that's exactly what happened. I left and went and taught the class and meditated, and it was very clear to me that the truth was most important.
Right.
And the interesting thing is that I eventually, what I did was I left. I said to her a few months later, and I stood up for this, and the people that worked for me were so touched by the fact that someone in this kind of world,
Mm.
in this environment, would stand up for truth.
Yeah, showed the gumption to speak
Right.
up.
Affected every single one of them, every single
Wow.
one of them. And then I talked it over with my husband, and, we decided the best thing for me was to go down and have a go to Jesus meeting with her and just tell her that, you know, I couldn't work in this environment. And I left. And what happened after that was that she left. And
Mm.
all the obnoxious people ended up leaving, but it was very important. I mean, I could have very easily went along with the program, which is what most people do in the corporate world, you know. But the truth was just coming through and very resonating.
Yeah.
So it was an essential thing and a daily life thing, and I've never regretted it. I've always felt really good about that choice.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, my second story is not about me, but someone after my pranayama class last night, we were talking about the heart, and she had a lot of angst about what's happening since the last election, what's happening in the US. And she had sent me a note after class a month or so ago and said, what do you think will help with this, with this anger and this angst and this frustration I have? And I said, well, you have to attune with higher consciousness. You have to attune with spirit and see what needs to come through. Because right now you're coming from ego. It's your ego that's angry and frustrated.
Right. Right.
What? And she said, well, I don't know. I'll see if I can do that. Well, last night after class, she said, I just want to tell you that it happened. Last week, she said, I just sat down and I did the best I could to open my heart. We're doing some pranayams for the heart, heart chakra. And she said, I did that. And she said, I felt spirit come through. And she said, I realized all of my frustration and anger was just ego. And that, love just was pouring through me and spirit was pouring through. And she said, if there's anything I have to do, it'll be through love and what spirit wants, not all this other stuff. So
That's a great example of what we're talking about. And what I heard Krista say in that last story was that she used yoga to get into a place of balance, into a harmonious place, and spirit can move when that happens.
Right. She did some breathing practices we've been doing that help to open the heart area. Because when you're angry and frustrated, the heart gets shut
It's
down.
truly the crux of the spiritual journey is being able to do that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Getting yourself into a place where you can express spirit.
Right. And like in this battle that she's talking about in the Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah.
Arjuna didn't want to fight.
Didn't want to kill his relatives.
Relatives were there. But, Krishna is saying, it's your dharma. You have to fight for truth. You have to fight for
Your duty.
It's your duty, So you have to stand up.
Yeah.
And also the battle within yourself, you have to stand up. Sometimes it's your own self that you have to deal with.
Which segues great into this next concept of what the Gita is teaching, and that is it's the concept of dharma. It's our duty and our purpose. And the Gita emphasizes the importance of aligning our actions with our true purpose and contributing to the greater good rather than being swayed by, for example, personal gain, societal pressures, which is happening a lot right now.
Yes.
Power and money and people pressuring one person after the other is running the country.
Yeah.
I mean, half of the country is not standing up for what's true. Where's the truth? They need to really, I wish they could hear this conversation and really be able to know that they have to stand up for the truth. America's been able to do that for a lot of years. We need to get back to that. But the Gita is really inviting us to cultivate peace consciousness. It means respecting others. It means recognizing their perspectives, whether you agree or not, or you like them or not, and then seeking out solutions that are rooted in a mutual understanding and a mutual forgiveness, because you might not like
people who disagree with you are on the other side, villains,
Yeah. You have to be able to hold that paradox of, I don't like what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to hate you and I'm going to still work with you. And that's what, politicians call working across the aisle, that's gone out the window with what's happening right now. We have to get back there. That's a medium ground, where we can start to communicate. So that pursuit that, those what we're talking about, and Chris is talking about standing up and, what the Gita says, it's courage. It's really about when you know what is right, you have to stand up for it.
Yeah.
It's like when you see a bully bullying somebody, you have to say something about it. You can't just walk away because you're afraid you're going to get punched in the face or whatever it is. That was a lesson my dad taught me from a very, very young age. He said bullies don't understand one language, and you have to be strong enough to stand up to it. So, okay, so this pursuit of peace is what is really important here, and the Gita is saying is that it's peace. Going for peace is really an individual and a collective journey. It's nice that you might feel peaceful, but if the world doesn't feel peaceful, we still got a problem.
Right.
This is why people, forever have been saying we need world peace. We need peace in the collective journey. So while inner peace is foundational, there are indeed ways that we can extend this tranquility out to foster a more harmonious world. So really the highest response we can provide involves embodying peace in our thoughts and our words and our actions and being, living, creating that living example for others to follow. So when you're wondering, you're sitting at home going, what can I do? Everybody can do what I just said. Provide peace in your thoughts, your words, your actions. So you're creating a living example that others can follow. That's no small thing. That's no small thing. Don't add to the division. Don't add to the fear. Don't add to the craziness, the disruption.
Disagree, with someone.
That's not the same.
Don't make them a villain.
That's right. You can disagree from a harmonious place.
Harmonious, loving place. That's
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So think about that. What have you done today that really cultivates that personal peace so you can expand that out into the world?
Yeah.
You want to, you can engage in actions that are rooted in service, rooted in compassion and understanding. There's, that concept of Shiva, which is selfless service that benefits others and it harms none. And you're really dedicating yourself to actions that are uplifting and supporting your community, directly contributing to a collective consciousness of peace. Chris last week talked about ahimsa, practicing nonviolence, and that's another way to cultivate peace in your world. You're fostering a dialogue and a connection with our communities and creating networks of understanding and empathy. And we're building bridges between us, rather than walls by listening deeply to each other,
right.
valuing diverse perspectives.
Yeah, understanding why they think the way they think.
Yes.
That's a huge thing. Letting them be heard rather than saying you're wrong.
How many times have you deeply listened to somebody and then you went, God, I've never thought about that before?
Yeah. You
learn something about yourself. You learn something about them. You learn something about the world. It's the way it works. You got to do that. You got to do that. So, okay, I can go on and on and on. I'm gonna just move to this part where I'm talking about Krishna he's not just teaching Arjuna to fight, although he is. He's saying you got to get out there and kick ass. That's your duty right now, right? That is part of the story. But he's showing him how to live with love and devotion. There's a quote that he says that is, whatever you do, this is Krishna talking, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, do that as an offering to me. And he's talking about these actions that Arjuna has to take in this battle, in this war, right? This war that he has to fight. We're talking about killing people he knows, cares about. So, this is the basis of Bhakti Yoga, which you are looking at two people that have had loved and studied Bhakti Yoga their whole lives. I'm not going to pretend to understand it. I think Chris is way ahead of me, but Bhakti Yoga is really acting with love and surrendering to the divine.
Yes, it is.
Even in the difficult times when we can transform our own actions into a spiritual practice. Remember that. Let me say that one again. Bhakti Yoga is acting with love and surrender to the divine. Even in difficult times, we can transform our actions into a spiritual practice. That's the whole gig, folks.
The whole gig. That's it.
The whole banana.
That's the whole banana right there. That's all you need to do.
Yes.
It's transforming.
Yes.
That's transforming right there.
So I could sum up. I want to just give you a couple of things that some of the great thinkers said about this particular battle, because it's really interesting from, there's so many people that come on earth and they're so wise and they say such interesting things. Like Swami Vivekananda said about this battle. He said he saw the battle as an internal struggle. And he said, Arjuna represents the soul and the 5 horses, the senses. Life's battle is about mastering ourselves.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Vivekananda said that. Mahatma Gandhi said he believed that the Gita was a guide to inner truth and nonviolent resistance, saying the battlefield is the war that goes on in every human heart. Again, powerful. Carl Jung linked the battle to a psychological growth, seeing Arjuna's hesitation as our fear of confronting our own darkness. Interesting. And what I love most, Paramahansa Yogananda taught that the battle represents the struggle between the soul and the ego, and meditation and self-awareness are our weapons. That describes us all the way, right?
It's right there. That's the whole thing right there.
That's the whole banana right there.
Mm.
All right. All right. Well, I have a little more, but we're trying to keep these down to like 20 minutes and I just go on and on. But I want to just say, as we're wrapping up here, I love this subject. It just
Wow.
feels so right for this particular time, and I'm going to encourage you to reflect. What are the battles that you are facing right now? And how can you apply the wisdom of Krishna to them? You know, if you don't know this battle in the Gita, just Google it, look at it, go to Chat GPT and ask it, what is this battle of Kurukshetra all about? And it'll give you enough to really be able to apply some of the wisdom to your life
Yes.
and really elevate yourself. And in so doing, be able to be in a more harmonious place, more loving place, and a place where you can inspire others instead of being afraid.
Yeah.
Because
And also doing it all with love and devotion.
do it all with love and
Everything you
devotion.
do, if you do it that way, it will be kind and it will be uplifting to everybody, including yourself.
Yeah. In other words, for you, you, not for me.
You,
For
right.
you,
That's
you,
it right there. Right there.
you.
Right there.
That's a great way to look at it. All right. So if you found this episode helpful, I sure hope you did. Share it with someone who might really need these teachings right now. Go to YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. It helps us because it gets out the pod to other people. Okay. So until next time, remember life's most significant battles are won with wisdom and courage and love.
Love.
And we love you. And we'll see you next week.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.